Captain Jake Morrison rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the navigation display. The cargo ship New Detroit was 3 days out from Earth, carrying mining equipment to the colonies near Alpha Centauri. The massive vessel stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull covered with shipping containers stacked like metal blocks. Jake had been running cargo for 15 years. He knew every sound his ship made, every vibration that traveled through the deck plates. Right now, everything felt normal. The cargo was secure, the engines ran smooth, and his small crew of 12 was going about their daily routines. "Captain, we've got company," called out Pete Williams from the sensor station. Pete was young, maybe 25, fresh out of the Merchant Academy. His voice carried a note of concern. Jake walked over to look at the display. 3 ships had appeared on the edge of sensor range, moving fast toward them. The computer couldn't identify their design, which was strange. Jake knew most of the ships that traveled these routes. "Are they responding to our identification beacon?" Jake asked. Pete shook his fingers across the controls. "No, sir. They're not answering our calls either. And Captain, these ships don't match anything in our database." Jake felt a cold knot form in his stomach. Unknown ships in deep space usually meant trouble. Pirates, maybe, or worse. He activated the ship's communication system. Unknown vessels. "This is Captain Morrison of the merchant vessel New Detroit. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." No response came through the speakers. The 3 ships grew larger on the display as they approached. Jake could see they had sleek, curved hulls that gleamed like polished metal. They moved, with purpose, forming a triangle formation around the New Detroit. Miles away, Admiral Kethfer stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the massive human vessel through the view screen. The ship was enormous, easily dwarfing his own battle cruiser. Its hull was covered in what looked like heavy armor plating, and strange weapon-like structures jutted from its sides. "Admiral, the human ship is over 1.8 kilometers long," reported his tactical officer. "We're detecting massive energy readings from multiple points along its hull." Kethfor's scaled hands gripped the command rail. His people, the Zephyrians, had been expanding their empire for 3 centuries. They had conquered dozens of worlds and absorbed countless species, but they had never seen a warship like this. "What about the smaller vessels?" he asked. 4 escort craft, sir. They appear to be some kind of fighter or patrol ship." Kethfer nodded grimly. The humans had brought a full battle group to this sector. This was clearly a military operation, not a peaceful contact. His fleet of 3 ships suddenly felt very small. Back on the New Detroit, Jake watched the alien ships take position around his vessel. They weren't firing, but they weren't leaving either. He needed to figure out what they wanted. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy spikes from the alien ships," Pete reported. "It looks like they're charging weapons." Jake's blood ran cold. His cargo ship had no weapons, no shields, nothing but thick hull plating designed to protect against space debris and radiation. If these aliens wanted a fight, the New Detroit was in serious trouble. "Get me Chief Martinez," Jake ordered. Rosa Martinez had been the New Detroit's chief engineer for 8 years. She knew the ship better than anyone, including Jake. When she arrived on the bridge, her coveralls were stained with grease, and her gray hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail. "What's the situation, Captain?" she asked. Jake pointed at the view screen. 3 alien ships, unknown design, and they've got us surrounded. Pete thinks they're charging weapons. Rosa studied the display for a moment. "We could dunk the cargo containers, lighten the ship, give us more speed for evasive maneuvers." "And lose our entire payload?" Jake shook his head. "The company would have my head." "Better than losing your life," Rosa replied. On the Zephyrian flagship, tension filled the bridge. The human dreadnought hadn't responded to their positioning, but Admiral Kethvar could see movement along its hull. Mechanical arms were shifting, pointing toward his ships. "Admiral, the human vessel is moving cargo containers," his tactical officer reported. "They appear to be preparing for combat." Kethvar felt his heart racing. The humans were getting ready to fight. Those massive mechanical arms could be launching systems for some kind of kinetic weapon. The cargo containers themselves might be filled with explosives or kinetic projectiles. "All ships, prepare for evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "If they launch those containers, treat them as incoming missiles." Jake made his decision. The alien ships weren't communicating, but they hadn't fired either. Maybe they were just as confused as he was. He activated the emergency cargo release system. "All hands, prepare for emergency cargo dump," he announced over the ship's intercom. "We're going to drop the mining equipment containers." The New Detroit shuddered as magnetic clamps released along its hull. Dozens of cargo containers, each the size of a small building, drifted away from the ship. The containers held mining lasers, drilling equipment, and tons of explosive charges used for asteroid mining. "Admiral," Kethvar watched in horror as the human ship launched its deadly cargo. The containers spread out in a wide pattern, clearly designed to catch his ships no matter which way they moved. His tactical officer confirmed his worst fears. "Admiral, I'm detecting massive explosive potential in those containers. If they detonate, they could destroy our entire formation." "All ships retreat to safe distance," Kethvar ordered. The humans had deployed some kind of area denial weapon. As the Zephyrian ships pulled back, one of the cargo containers drifted into a small asteroid. The mining charges inside exploded in a brilliant flash of light, sending chunks of rock flying in all directions. On the New Detroit's bridge, Jake winced as he watched the explosion. "There goes 50,000 credits worth of mining equipment," he muttered. But the alien ships were moving away, no longer threatening his vessel. Whatever they had wanted, the sight of the exploding cargo container seemed to have changed their minds. "Captain, the alien ships are leaving," Pete reported. "They're heading out of the system at high speed." Jake nodded, feeling relief wash over him. "Good. Let's get out of here too. Set course for the nearest space station. I need to file a report about this incident." As the New Detroit changed course, Jake had no idea that he had just terrified one of the galaxy's most powerful military fleets. In the eyes of Admiral Kethvar, the human cargo ship was the most dangerous warship he had ever encountered. The great council chamber on Nexus Prime buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 12 different species sat around the circular table, their various forms creating a strange mix of colors, shapes, and sizes. At the center of the chamber, a large holographic display showed images of human spacecraft. Ambassador Veltar of the hegemony stood beside the display, his 4 arms gesturing at the images. His purple skin had turned a darker shade, which meant he was deeply worried. The other ambassadors leaned forward in their seats, studying the human ships with growing concern. "These are the latest intelligence reports," Veltar began, his voice carrying through the chamber's translation system. "In the past 6 months, we have documented over 40 encounters with human vessels across the Outer Rim sectors." The display changed to show a massive human ship, bristling with strange equipment. Long mechanical arms extended from its hull, and dozens of smaller craft moved around it like insects around a flower. "This vessel was observed in the Kepler system," Veltar continued. "Our scouts report it was able to detect their presence from over 50 light-years away. When they attempted to get closer, the ship deployed what appeared to be advanced sensor probes throughout the entire system." Ambassador Thrix, an insect-like being from the collective, clicked her mandibles nervously. "What did these probes do?" "They seemed to map everything in the system. Every asteroid, every planet, every piece of space debris. Within hours, The human ship had complete tactical knowledge of the entire area. Far from the council chamber, Dr. Lisa Chun sat in the laboratory of the research vessel Discovery, studying readings from their latest sensor sweep. The ship was conducting a standard scientific survey of an unexplored system, mapping planets and cataloging any signs of life. Lisa was a marine biologist, part of a team of scientists studying how life might develop on different types of worlds. The Discovery was equipped with the most advanced sensors Earth could build, capable of detecting organic compounds from millions of kilometers away. Dr. Chun, we're picking up some interesting readings from the fourth planet, called out her research partner, Dr. Kevin Park. The atmosphere has traces of oxygen and methane. Could be signs of bacterial life. Lisa nodded and began preparing a probe for launch. The Discovery carried dozens of scientific probes, each one designed for specific types of research. Some could land on planets and drill core samples. Others could fly through gas-giant atmospheres, analyzing the chemical composition. "Launch probe 7, she ordered. "Let's get a closer look at that planet." The probe launched from the Discovery's HULL, its small engine carrying it toward the distant world. Lisa watched its progress on her screen, excited by the possibility of discovering new forms of life. She had no idea that alien observers were watching from the edge of the system, terrified by what they saw. Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Veltar continued his presentation. The display now showed another human ship, this one even larger than the first. Its hull was covered with what looked like factory equipment, and streams of smaller craft moved between the ship and a nearby asteroid. "This vessel was observed in the Vega system," Veltar said. "In less than 72 hours, it completely dismantled a metallic asteroid. Our analysts believe it was harvesting materials to build weapons or ammunition." The ambassador from the Stellar Republic, a being that looked like a walking tree, rustled its leaves in distress. "Are you saying the humans can build weapons in space? That they don't need supply lines or manufacturing bases?" "That appears to be correct," Veltar replied. "This ship seemed capable of taking raw materials and turning them into finished products. The implications for military logistics are terrifying." What the aliens had actually observed was a standard asteroid mining operation. The human ship was a commercial mining vessel, breaking down the asteroid and processing its metals for use in the outer colonies. But to the watching aliens, it looked like a mobile weapons factory. The display changed again, showing a convoy of human ships approaching the small moon. The lead vessel was massive, easily 3 kilometers long, with a hull that seemed to be made of interlocking sections. "This formation was observed in the Ross system," Veltar continued. "Watch what happens when they reach the moon." The recording showed the human ships deploying thousands of smaller craft. Within days, structures began appearing on the moon's surface. Domes, towers, and connecting tunnels spread across the landscape like a growing city. In less than 1 week, the humans established a fully operational base, Veltar said, complete with defensive positions, supply depots, and what appear to be weapon emplacements. Ambassador Krex of the Dominion, a reptilian being with yellow eyes, hissed softly. "They can fortify any world in the galaxy within days. No defensive position would be safe from them." What the aliens had observed was actually a civilian colony operation. The large ship was a colony transport, carrying prefabricated buildings and equipment to establish a new settlement. The weapon emplacements were actually communication towers and mining equipment. Dr. Chon had no knowledge of these alien observations as she continued her research. The Discovery had been exploring the galaxy's outer regions for 6 months, studying dozens of star systems. It was peaceful work, the kind that helped humanity understand its place in the universe. "Dr. Chun, we're detecting some unusual energy signatures near the system's edge," Kevin reported. Could be natural phenomena, but the readings are pretty strange. Lisa looked at the data streaming across her screen. The energy patterns didn't match anything in their database of natural cosmic events. They seemed almost artificial, like the exhaust from some kind of engine. Could be another ship, she said. Maybe we're not alone out here after all. The thought was exciting rather than frightening. Lisa had always hoped that humanity would make contact with alien life. The idea of other intelligent species exploring the galaxy filled her with wonder. Should we investigate? Kevin asked. Lisa considered the options. Their mission was scientific research, not first contact, but the chance to discover alien life was too important to ignore. Launch a probe toward those energy signatures, she decided. Let's see what's out there. At the edge of the system, the alien scout ship's captain watched the human probe approaching with growing panic. The small device was clearly some kind of weapon designed to target and destroy enemy vessels. All ships retreat immediately, the captain ordered. The humans have detected us and are launching attack probes. The alien ships fled the system at maximum speed, leaving Lisa and her team confused by the sudden disappearance of the energy signatures they had been tracking. In the council chamber, Ambassador Veltar concluded his presentation with the most disturbing evidence yet. The display showed recordings from Admiral Kethfar's encounter with the cargo ship New Detroit. This vessel deployed kinetic weapons with devastating effect, Veltar said. A single detonation destroyed a small asteroid completely. If used against a planet, the destruction would be unimaginable. The council chamber fell silent as the ambassadors absorbed this information. Finally, Ambassador Thrick spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. How many of these ships do the humans have? Our intelligence suggests hundreds, Veltar replied. Possibly thousands. And these may not even be their primary battle fleet. We have no information about Earth's home defense forces. The implications were clear to everyone in the chamber. Humanity possessed the most advanced military force the galaxy had ever seen. Their ships could detect enemies from impossible distances, manufacture weapons in space, establish fortified positions on any world, and deploy devastating kinetic weapons. None of them realized they were looking at cargo ships, research vessels, and colony transports. The galaxy's greatest military powers were terrified of humanity's civilian fleet. Captain Alex Rodriguez stretched his back as he guided the cargo vessel Long Haul toward the docking port of Harmony Station. The massive space station sat at the edge of human territory, right on the border between human space and the neutral zone. It was one of the few places where humans and aliens could meet safely. Alex had been making cargo runs for 20 years, but this was his first time visiting a mixed station. The Long Haul was carrying medical supplies and manufactured goods to trade with alien merchants. It was supposed to be a routine business trip, nothing more. The Long Haul was typical of human cargo vessels, big, sturdy, and built to last. At nearly 2 kilometers long, it could carry enough supplies to keep a small colony running for months. Its hull was covered with cargo pods and loading equipment, giving it a blocky, industrial appearance. Captain, Harmony Station is requesting. We follow specific docking procedures, called out his navigator, Sandy Martinez. She was reading from a display that showed the station's instructions. They want us to dock at the heavy military berth. Alex frowned. Military berth? We're a civilian cargo ship. Tell them we need a commercial dock. Sandy worked at her controls for a moment, then looked up with confusion. Sir, they're insisting we use the military facilities. They're also requesting that you report to the diplomatic section immediately after docking. Something strange was going on, but Alex decided not to argue. Maybe the station had protocols he didn't understand. He had dealt with bureaucracy before, and it was usually easier to go along with official requests than to fight them. as the long haul approached the station. Alex could see alien ships docked at various ports. Most of them were sleek and elegant, completely different from human vessel designs. They looked more like works of art than working spacecraft. The docking process took longer than usual. Station personnel guided the long haul into a berth designed for military vessels, complete with heavy security barriers and defensive positions. Alex noticed that alien security forces had taken positions around the dock, as if they were expecting trouble. "This is weird," Sandy commented as they completed the docking sequence. "Why are they treating us like a warship?" Alex didn't have an answer. He gathered his trading documents and headed for the airlock, planning to sort out the confusion as quickly as possible. Harmony, station's diplomatic section, was located in the station's central hub, where representatives from different species could meet in neutral territory. As Alex walked through the corridors, he noticed that alien beings moved quickly out of his way, their eyes filled with what looked like fear. The diplomatic meeting room was large and circular, with seating designed for different types of alien physiology. When Alex entered, he found 3 alien diplomats waiting for him. They stood quickly when he appeared, their postures suggesting respect mixed with nervousness. The lead diplomat was a tall, slender being with blue skin and large black eyes. When he spoke, his words came through a translation device that made his voice sound mechanical. "Captain Rodriguez, I am Diplomat Zarnath of the Galactic Trade Commission. We are honored by your presence." Alex blinked in surprise. The alien's tone was formal, almost reverent, as if Alex was some kind of important military leader. He was just a cargo ship captain, nothing special. "Nice to meet you," Alex said, extending his hand for a handshake. The alien stared at the gesture for a moment before carefully reaching out to touch Alex's hand. "I'm here about the trading agreement. My ship is carrying medical supplies and electronics." Zarnath's large eyes widened. "Your vessel is a trading ship?" "Of course," Alex replied. "The long haul is a cargo freighter. We transport goods between human colonies and trading partners. What did you think it was?" The 3 aliens exchanged looks that Alex couldn't interpret. Zarnath seemed to be struggling with some internal conflict before he spoke again. "Captain Rodriguez, we believed your vessel was a military dreadnought. Our intelligence reports classified it as one of humanity's most powerful warships." Alex laughed, thinking the alien was making some kind of joke. "A warship? The long haul? You've got to be kidding. She's just a cargo hauler. We don't even have weapons, unless you count the emergency flares." The aliens did not laugh. If anything, they looked more disturbed than before. Zarnath leaned forward in his chair, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Captain, are you saying that your vessel is not a military ship?" "That's right," Alex confirmed. "Completely civilian. We carry cargo, not weapons." "Why would you think otherwise?" Zarnath stood up abruptly and began pacing around the room. The other 2 aliens watched him with obvious concern. Finally, he stopped and turned back to Alex. "Captain Rodriguez, if your ship is a civilian cargo vessel, then what do your actual warships look like?" Alex thought about the question. He had seen Earth's military ships during his years in the merchant service. They were smaller than cargo vessels, built for speed and maneuverability rather than carrying capacity. "Well, they're smaller mostly," Alex said, "maybe 500 or 600 meters long, built for combat rather than cargo capacity." "Why do you ask?" The aliens looked like they had seen a ghost. Zarnath sat down heavily, his blue skin turning a pale shade that Alex guessed meant shock or fear. "Smaller?" Zarnath repeated. "Your military vessels are smaller than your cargo ships?" "Sure," Alex replied, still confused by the aliens' reactions. "Cargo ships need to be big to carry lots of stuff. Warships need to be fast and maneuverable. Different jobs, different designs. One of the other aliens, a creature that looked like a cross between a bird and a reptile, spoke for the first time. "Captain, how many vessels like yours does Earth possess?" Alex shrugged. "Thousands, I guess. Every major shipping company has dozens of cargo haulers. Plus all the mining ships, colony transports, research vessels, passenger liners. Earth has a huge civilian fleet." The room fell silent. The aliens stared at Alex with expressions he couldn't read, but their body language suggested they were deeply disturbed by his answers. "Captain," Zarnith said slowly, "you mentioned mining ships. What do those look like?" "Bigger than cargo ships," Alex replied. "Some of the planet crackers are 10 kilometers long. They need to carry massive drilling equipment and processing facilities. The asteroid miners are smaller, but they can strip mine an entire asteroid field in a few weeks." Zarnith made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. "It might have been a groan or a whimper. And research vessels?" The bird-like alien asked. "Those vary," Alex said. "Some are small and fast for quick surveys. Others are huge mobile laboratories with crews of hundreds. The deep space exploration ships are amazing. They can operate independently for years, studying entire star systems." The aliens exchanged more unreadable looks. Finally, Zarnith asked the question that seemed to be on all their minds. "Captain Rodriguez, if these are your civilian ships, what does your actual military look like?" Alex thought about the question seriously. He had never seen Earth's full military capability, but he knew it existed. The Space Navy kept most of their operations classified, even from civilian ship captains. "I don't really know," he admitted. "Military stuff is classified. I've seen some patrol ships and escorts, but the real warships stay close to Earth or deploy to classified locations. I imagine they're pretty impressive, but I've never seen them in action." The silence that followed. His words was deafening. The three aliens sat motionless, as if they were processing information too terrible to comprehend. Finally, Zarnith stood up again. His voice was quiet and formal when he spoke. "Captain Rodriguez, this meeting has been most informative. We will need to report these facts to our respective governments immediately." Alex nodded, still confused by the alien's strange behavior. "Sure, no problem. So about that trading agreement, ... "The trading agreement will be approved immediately," Zarnith said quickly. "Whatever terms you propose will be acceptable." Alex blinked in surprise. He had expected to spend days negotiating prices and delivery schedules. "Really? Just like that?" "Yes," Zarnith confirmed. "We are eager to maintain peaceful relations with humanity. Very eager indeed." As Alex left the meeting room, he couldn't shake the feeling that something important had just happened. The aliens had seemed genuinely frightened by his description of human civilian ships. But why would cargo vessels and mining ships scare advanced alien civilizations? He had no way of knowing that his casual descriptions of human industry had just terrified the entire galaxy. In the minds of the alien diplomats, humanity possessed thousands of vessels that they had mistaken for dreadnoughts. If those were just cargo ships, then humanity's true military power was beyond imagination. Revelation was about to spread across the galaxy, carrying with it a wave of fear that would change everything. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within days of the meeting at Harmony Station, every major government had received detailed reports about the terrifying revelation. What they had feared as humanity's most powerful warships were actually just cargo vessels and civilian transports. On the bridge of the military corvette Defender, Commander Beth Taylor studied the tactical display with growing confusion. Her small warship was patrolling the outer edge of human space when sensors detected a massive fleet of alien ships approaching at high speed. The Defender was a typical Earth military vessel, sleek, fast, and built for combat. At 400 meters long, it was designed to escort cargo convoys and patrol the shipping lanes. It carried advanced weapons and defensive systems, but it was still just a corvette, one of the smallest ships in Earth's Navy. "Captain, we're reading over 200 alien vessels," reported Lieutenant Gary Foster from the sensor station. "Multiple species, all moving in formation toward the border." Beth frowned at the display. She had never seen so many alien ships in one place before. The fleet was massive, easily the largest military force ever assembled in this sector of space. "Are they responding to our communications?" she asked. "No, ma'am," replied her communications officer, Ensign Julie Park. "They're not answering our calls, but they're broadcasting on all frequencies." "It sounds like evacuation orders." "Evacuation orders?" Beth moved to look over Julie's shoulder at the communication console. "Who are they evacuating?" "Everyone, it looks like," Julie said, her voice filled with disbelief. "They're telling all civilian traffic to clear the sector immediately." Something about an incoming human battle fleet. Beth looked around her bridge, noting the confused expressions on her crew's faces. The Defender was alone out here. There was no human battle fleet, just her single corvette on routine patrol. "Lieutenant Foster, are there any other human ships in the area?" she asked. Gary checked his sensors carefully before responding. "No, ma'am. We're the only human vessel within 50 light years." Beth activated the ship's communication system, broadcasting on the standard diplomatic frequency. "Attention, alien fleet. This is Commander Taylor of the Earthship Defender. We are on routine patrol. There is no human battle fleet in this area. Please respond." The alien fleet continued its approach, but Beth could see individual ships beginning to change course, as if they were trying to avoid a direct confrontation. Some of the smaller vessels were actually turning around and fleeing at maximum speed. Light years away, Fleet Admiral Crescion stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the tactical display with barely controlled panic. His combined fleet represented the military might of 6 different species, brought together for a desperate evacuation of the border sectors. "Admiral, the human vessel is broadcasting again," reported his communications officer. They claimed to be on routine patrol. Crexion's reptilian features twisted into what might have been a grimace. The human ship was clearly trying to lull them into a false sense of security. Its sleek design and obvious weapon systems marked it as a military vessel, but if the intelligence reports were correct, this was probably just a scout ship for a much larger force. "How large is the human vessel?" he asked his tactical officer. 400 meters, Admiral. Much smaller than the cargo ships we've encountered before." Crexion felt his heart sink. The human warship was less than a quarter the size of their cargo vessels, which meant it was probably incredibly fast and maneuverable. Worse, if the humans were using their smallest ships for patrol duty, what monsters did they deploy for actual combat? "All ships maintain safe distance," he ordered. "Do not engage unless fired upon." On the Defender, Beth watched the alien fleet's strange behavior with growing concern. The ships were maintaining a respectful distance, but they weren't leaving either. Their formation suggested they were preparing for some kind of massive evacuation. Aberration. "Captain, I'm picking up long-range communications from the alien fleet," Julie reported. "They're talking to other ships throughout the sector. It sounds like they're coordinating a withdrawal." "Withdrawal from what?" Beth asked Dot before anyone could answer. Gary called out from the sensor station. "Captain, more ships incoming. 3 more alien fleets approaching from different vectors." Beth looked at the tactical display in amazement. The number of alien ships in the area was growing by the hour. Hundreds of vessels representing dozens of different species were converging on this single sector of space. Julie tried to establish communication with the fleet commanders, Beth ordered. "I want to know what's going on here." After several minutes of trying different frequencies and protocols, Julie finally managed to connect with one of the alien ships. The voice that came through the speakers was distorted by translation software, but the fear in it was unmistakable. Human. Vessel, this is Captain Thex Dow of the hegemony cruiser Righteous Wind. We are conducting emergency evacuation of civilian populations. Please state the size and composition of your battle fleet. Beth blinked in surprise. Battle fleet? Captain, we're a single ship on routine patrol. There is no battle fleet. A long pause followed her words. When the alien captain spoke again, his voice was even more strained. Commander, our intelligence indicates that human cargo vessels are over 2 kilometers long and carry devastating weapons. Your ship appears to be a fraction of that size. This suggests it is either a scout vessel or a super dreadnought with advanced compression technology. Beth looked around her bridge, seeing her own confusion reflected in her crew's faces. Captain, Thextel, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Our cargo ships are civilian vessels. They don't carry weapons. This is a military corvette designed for patrol and escort duties. Another long pause. When the alien captain spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. You're saying that vessel is your military ship? Yes, Beth confirmed. The Defender is a corvette, one of our smaller military vessels. The communication channel went silent. Through the view screen, Beth could see the alien fleet beginning to move with obvious urgency. Ships that had been maintaining formation suddenly scattered in all directions, as if fleeing from some terrible threat. Captain, the alien fleets are withdrawing at maximum speed, Gary reported. They're broadcasting general evacuation orders across multiple star systems. Beth watched in amazement as hundreds of alien warships fled from her single corvette. She tried to re-establish communication, but the alien fleets were too busy running to respond to her calls. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Crexion was coordinating the largest military withdrawal in galactic history. The revelation that the human vessel was actually a military ship had confirmed his worst fears. All fleets implement full strategic withdrawal, he broadcast to his scattered forces. Evacuate all border systems immediately. Establish new defensive lines at least 50 light years from human space. His communications officer looked up from his station with wide eyes. Admiral, we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. Other fleets are implementing similar withdrawals. A stellar republic is evacuating 12 systems. The collective is pulling back their entire border fleet. Crexion nodded grimly. If a human corvette was only 400 meters long, then their true battleships must be unimaginably powerful. The galaxy had been completely wrong about human military capabilities. Sir, what about the civilian evacuations? His tactical officer asked. Continue them, Crexion ordered. Every civilian ship that can reach hyperspace should be moved to the core systems immediately. We have no idea how far the humans intend to advance. Back on the Defender, Beth was filing her report with growing bewilderment. In the space of a few hours, she had witnessed the largest alien military gathering in recorded history, followed by their immediate and panicked withdrawal. Command, this is Commander Taylor reporting, she said into her communication console. I've encountered multiple alien fleets in Sector 77 Alpha. They appear to be conducting some kind of massive evacuation operation. They seemed terrified. When I identified the Defender as a military vessel, the response from Earth Command came through several minutes later, delayed by the distance the signal had to travel. Defender, this is Admiral Stone. Can you confirm the alien fleets have withdrawn from human space? Confirmed, Admiral. All alien vessels have left the sector. They're broadcasting evacuation orders throughout the border regions. Another pause. Commander Taylor, return to base immediately. We need a full debrief on this incident. As the Defender changed course toward Earth, Beth couldn't help but wonder what had caused such a massive panic among the alien fleets. Small corvette was impressive for its size, but it was hardly the kind of ship that should terrify entire civilizations. She had no way of knowing that her casual identification of the Defender as a smaller military vessel had just convinced the galaxy that humanity possessed warships beyond their wildest nightmares. The evacuation orders would continue for weeks, as species after species pulled back from human space in terror. The galaxy's greatest military powers were running from shadows, fleeing from a threat that existed only in their own frightened imaginations. 3 months after the Great Evacuation, a small diplomatic fleet approached Earth orbit with extreme caution. The ships were white, unmarked, and broadcast peaceful intentions on every frequency known to galactic civilization. Leading this delegation was Supreme Council Representative Fictional, chosen because his species was known for their diplomatic skills and calm nature. As their ships drew closer to Earth, the alien delegates stared in amazement at what they saw. Instead of the fortress world they had expected, Earth appeared to be a beautiful blue and green planet, covered with clouds and clearly teeming with life. But it was the space around Earth that truly shocked them. Massive orbital habitats spun slowly around the planet, each one large enough to house millions of beings. Shipyards stretched for kilometers, constructing vessels of all sizes and types. Space elevators connected the surface to orbital platforms, creating highways of constant traffic moving between Earth and space. What struck the aliens most was how peaceful it all appeared. The orbital installations looked like cities rather than military bases. The constant stream of ships moving between them seemed to be civilian traffic, not military patrols. "This cannot be right," whispered Ambassador Veltar, who had insisted on joining the diplomatic mission despite his fear. "Where are the weapon platforms? The defensive installations?" Fixonal studied the readings on his ship's sensors. "I'm detecting massive industrial capacity, but no obvious military structures. The orbital installations appear to be habitats, factories, and shipyards." Their ships were met by a small escort of human vessels. To the aliens' surprise, these were clearly marked as civilian traffic control ships, not military escorts. The human captain who contacted them spoke in friendly, professional tones. "Welcome to Earth space, diplomatic vessels. This is Captain Nancy Wright of Traffic Control. Please follow our escort ships to the designated diplomatic dock at Luna Station." Admiral Karen Stone stood in the observation deck of Luna Station, watching the alien ships approach through the large windows. As Earth's highest-ranking military officer, she had been chosen to meet with the alien delegation and try to understand what had caused the massive panic across the galaxy. Karen was a practical woman in her 50s, with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen decades of military service. She wore a simple blue uniform marked with the insignia of Earth's Space Navy. Behind her, a small group of human diplomats and scientists waited nervously for their first official contact with alien civilization. The docking process went smoothly, and soon the alien delegates were walking through Luna Station's corridors, escorted by human security personnel. The aliens moved cautiously, their eyes darting around as if expecting an ambush at any moment. Luna Station was one of Earth's oldest space installations, built primarily for scientific research and civilian administration. Its corridors were clean and well-lit, decorated with artwork and plants that made the environment feel welcoming rather than military. The meeting took place in a large conference room with windows that offered a spectacular view of Earth. As the alien delegates entered, they seemed surprised by the casual atmosphere. The humans had prepared refreshments and comfortable seating, creating an environment more suited to a business meeting than a military negotiation. Admiral Stone stepped forward to greet the delegation. "Welcome to Luna Station. I'm Admiral Karen. Stone, commander of Earth's Space Navy. We're honored to have you here. Fictional studied the human admiral carefully. She was smaller than he had expected, and her manner was professional, but not threatening. Her uniform looked functional, rather than intimidating. Admiral Stone, I am Supreme Council Representative Fictional. We have come to discuss the current situation between our peoples. Karen gestured to the conference table. Please, have a seat. We have a lot to talk about. As the group settled around the table, Karen decided to address the elephant in the room directly. Representative Fictional, our reports indicate that multiple alien civilizations have withdrawn from our border regions. We're confused about what caused this reaction. Fictional exchanged glances with the other delegates before responding. Admiral, our intelligence reports suggested that humanity possessed the most powerful military force in galactic history. The withdrawal was a precautionary measure. Karen blinked in surprise. Our military force? Representative, I think there may have been a serious misunderstanding. She activated a holographic display in the center of the table, showing images of various human spacecraft. The first image showed the cargo ship New Detroit, the same vessel that had terrified Admiral Kethfer months earlier. This is a typical human cargo freighter, Karen explained. It's designed to transport goods between our colonies. The thick hull plating is protection against space debris and radiation, not armor. The mechanical arms are loading cranes for moving cargo containers. The alien delegates stared at the image in silence. Karen continued to the next ship. This is a research vessel designed for scientific exploration. The sensor arrays you see are for studying planets and stellar phenomena. The probes it launches are scientific instruments, not weapons. Ambassador Veltar leaned forward, his forearms gripping the table. Admiral, are you saying these vessels are not military ships? That's correct, Karen confirmed. They're civilian vessels, built for commerce and scientific research. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Fictional spoke in a quiet voice. If these are your civilian ships, then what do your military vessels look like? Karen smiled and changed the holographic display to show the Corvette Defender. This is one of our military ships, a corvette designed for patrol and escort duties. The aliens stared at the image in shock. The sleek warship was less than a quarter the size of the cargo vessels they had feared. It's so small, whispered one of the delegates. Military ships are built for different purposes than civilian vessels, Karen explained. They need to be fast and maneuverable, not large and bulky. We designed them for specific combat roles, not cargo capacity. Fictional struggled to process this information. Admiral Stone, how many military ships does Earth possess? Karen considered the question carefully. The exact number is classified, but I can tell you that our active fleet consists of several hundred vessels of various classes. Most are small ships like the Defender, designed for patrol and defense rather than conquest. Several hundred? Fictional repeated. But our intelligence reports suggested you had thousands of warships. You were probably counting our civilian fleet, Karen realized. Earth has thousands of civilian ships, cargo haulers, passenger liners, research vessels, mining ships, colony transports, but they're not military vessels. Ambassador Veltar made the sound that passed for laughter among his people, though. It came out as more of a nervous wheeze. We have been terrified of your cargo ships. Karen nodded with understanding. I can see how the confusion occurred. Human civilian ships are built to survive in harsh environments, so they might appear military to someone unfamiliar with our technology. She changed the display again, showing images of Earth's orbital installations. This is why our civilian ships appear so robust. Space is dangerous. Radiation, debris, equipment failures. We build everything to last, because we can't afford to have ships breaking down millions of kilometers from the nearest repair facility. The alien delegates studied the images of Earth's industrial capacity with new understanding. What they had interpreted as military infrastructure was actually civilian industry on a massive scale. Your people have achieved remarkable things, Thixanol admitted. The scale of your civilization is impressive. We've worked hard to build a peaceful, prosperous society, Karen agreed. But we're not conquerors. Most humans are more interested in exploration and discovery than warfare. As if to demonstrate her point, Dr. Lisa Chun entered the conference room, still wearing her lab coat from the research facility. Karen had asked her to join the meeting as an example of typical human priorities. Dr. Chun is one of our scientists. Karen explained. She's been studying life on other worlds, hoping to understand how biology develops under different conditions. Lisa smiled at the alien delegates, her excitement obvious. It's amazing to finally meet other intelligent species. I have so many questions about your homeworlds and how life evolved in your systems. The aliens seemed taken aback by Lisa's enthusiasm. Instead of military conquest, this human was interested in scientific cooperation. Over the next several hours, the meeting continued with humans and aliens sharing information about their respective civilizations. The aliens gradually began to relax as they realized that humans were not the military threat they had imagined. Representative Thixanol. Karen said as the meeting wound down, I hope this conversation has helped clear up the misunderstanding between our peoples. Thixanol nodded slowly. Indeed it has, Admiral. But I must admit, this revelation is almost more impressive than our original fears. How so? Karen asked. Your civilian infrastructure alone represents technological and industrial capabilities that exceed most military forces in the galaxy, Thixanol explained. The fact that you use such resources for peaceful purposes suggests a level of advancement that is both impressive and reassuring. As the alien delegation prepared to leave, they carried with Th.